Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to be going over how to set up and use Discord.js with Node and NPM. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and create just a standard folder that we want to build our project in. So I went ahead and made a folder called Discord.js intro. It's the introduction to Discord.js. Something that we should know as well is that Discord.js does have a website at discord.js.org, where they have documentation and other things which we will be referencing within this video. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started by going into File, and we are going to, or actually Terminal, sorry, and hit New Terminal. This will bring up a little terminal window down here. I prefer to use PowerShell since on Windows PowerShell is good, but you guys can use anything such as like Bash and what. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start out with the npm init command. So that way we can initialize our VM. So package name, Discord.js intro, we can go ahead and leave that. Version 1.1.0.0, you can go ahead and leave that. Description, we are going to just call this Discord.js introduction video, right? Enter point, we are going to turn that to src/index.js. And then test command, we can just go ahead and leave that. Git repository, just leave that. Keywords, doesn't matter. Author, let's put that as me. You guys can put it as whoever you want, obviously yourself. License, we'll just leave it as ISC, and we will do yes for okay. Now we should see a little package.json. So first of all, we need to create a few things. So let's go ahead and we are going to start by initializing TypeScript, since this will be using TypeScript. So we want to download a couple of packages for TypeScript. So let's go ahead and start with that. Let's do npmi ts tech node for TypeScript. We want to do npmi tech dev TypeScript. We can just leave that as 4.9.4 or whatever version it wants to download. TS node can be 10.9.1, that's fine. A few things that I like to install as well, that we can probably do is Discord.js, obviously. Discord.js. And then since we don't have the dependencies, we can go npmi at types/node. So we can get node types, stuff like that, or TypeScript. Another thing we can do is, so this is kind of completely up to you, as far as like how you want your like logging to be, if you want it to be like extremely verbose, and having a lot of different colors and stuff like that, which I kind of like to do in a lot of my projects. We're just going to do npmi node tech color tech log. What I'm doing. And then we're going to use or make use of the .env environment. So we are going to npmi .env. That's for our configuration for our project. So next we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up the tsconfig. So here in our base directory here, we're going to add a folder. We're going to do this tsconfig.json. Inside of here, we're going to set up our compiler options, and then the include. This is going to be an array of file paths that we want to keep included. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do src/all directories and then all files within each directory. And then we're going to run in exclude. And normally what I do in here is just modules, exclude those. So compiler options. Some things we're going to enable is source map. We're going to put that to true. And then we're going to set no implicit any. That's going to be true as well, because we don't want to have any types implicitly any, right? We just want to type everything. We don't want to have anything that's not typed, basically. So implicit any is basically what the compiler implies is any. So if it's not typed, it's implicitly any, and we don't want that. So we're just going to leave this guy as common.js module root dir. We are just going to do ./src. And then we're going to do, if we were going to do some compilation here, if we wanted to say like run this on like a back end of like a website or something, we could run some sort of like rollup, like some sort of builder or compiler like rollup. That's another good one, but since we're not going to do that, we're just going to not do any outputs. We don't want this to be, actually wait, yeah, we want this to be strict. And then we want to do module resolution as node and ES module interop. We want that to be true. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to set up our start command so that way when we run this, so we're going to go ahead and eat this. We don't need that. We're just going to do one called start. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do ts tac node, and we're going to do source/index.ts. We're going to change this. I know I said JS, but we want to change that to TS. So let's go ahead and get started by creating our source folder. And then we are going to create a folder called index.ts, right, for TypeScript. Why I use TypeScript over JavaScript is just for typing, so that way it's a little bit easier to read, and then you don't have any like type related bugs and stuff. So what I like to do is I like to create a folder called core. This can be anything that you want. Basically the core is the core of the application, so this is where everything's going to be, right? So once we make this core folder, we're going to make a few things inside of this. I like to create a folder called data. This is normally where like objects and interfaces go. We can break those out into their own files as well if we wanted to, which here we're going to do. So we're going to create interfaces. And then we're going to go back into this data folder, create another one called objects, right there. So that way we have interfaces and we have objects. We're going to click back over to core, so that way we're targeting that, make sure it's underlined. We're going to go ahead and hit new file, and we're going to create one called discord client.ts, right? We're going to say import. I like to break down my imports when I know I'm probably going to have quite a few. So we're going to import from discord.js. Something we want to do is we want to keep the client, right? So the client is the base client object from discord.js. We're going to just import client right now. We're going to import a few other things probably. So let's go ahead and import our .env. So we're importing everything from .env as .env. So now we can do .env.config. So what .env does is we have our base directory here. So we want to click on this window and make sure you have this blue box surrounding us. We're going to hit this plus file, and we're going to create a .env file. So this is a very common practice with a lot of configuration that like tokens. If you're publishing this to a Git repository, I would highly recommend that you git ignore this. So we're going to create a class called export class discord client. And what I like to do is create interfaces for classes. That way I have strict function definitions for these. So let's go ahead and here create a Discord client. We'll call the file just Discord client. And then we'll do export Discord client. So our Discord client interface over here, we're going to implement some functions that we know we're going to need from the documentation. So some things I like to do is we are going to import the client from discord.js. So we are extracting that client object. We want to make sure that our object creates a client, which is going to be the base client of JS. And then we want to have just a connect function. And this is just going to be a arrow function. There could be parameters that you want to pass here. Like maybe if you wanted to do some sort of like pass through, you could do some like token. But since I'm using .env, we're not using that. So we're just going to eat this. So we're just going to leave it as an arrow function. So now we can go back into here. We can import that interface by doing import. They default export that. I did not. Okay. I Discord client from data interfaces Discord client imported there. So now since we have an interface, we're going to be implementing it. Implements the I Discord client. Now this guy will go red. Now the reason that this guy is going to go red is because we need a client. This is going to complain because there's no constructor initializing this. And then we're going to create a connect function, which is just going to be, again, an arrow function. I'm thinking of here, what we want to do is we're going to create a constructor. And since we're not taking any sort of like properties in, we're just going to open up the constructor. So we're going to say this.client equals a new client. So a client from Discord.js has or expects an object of intent or of various things, but we are going to take intents. We're going to want to actually import this thing, gateway intent bits. Okay, so gateway intent bits, we can look at this. If you just hold down control and you click it, it'll open you up to it. And we can see kind of what's here, right? So this is an enum of bits that various numbers on them. We have guilds. If we want it to ban, I would assume it probably goes there. Direct messages to allow direct messages to player or to people. We have direct message reactions, typing, message content, which this actually allows you to view message content. And there's some extra stuff you actually have to do on the developer dashboard for Discord. Get this set up, but it's pretty easy to find. There's a Stack Overflow article out there that'll walk you through that if you just Google search it. Not going to go into that because I'm not really going into the Discord side, just going and setting up JS. So I'm going to drag this over here. So that way I can see what intents are here. And we want to do gateway intent bits dot guilds, right? Because we want it to be able to join guilds, which are basically Discord servers. Gateway intent bits dot guild messages or something. Gateway intent bits dot message content. So that way we can view message content. So I'm going to come back to this Discord client interfaces and I'm going to register listeners. This is going to take a arrow function, and then this is going to return an instance of the Discord client. This is our Discord client, by the way. This is not the actual client. So the reason we're doing this is that way we can have a single object in, and this is going to be angry, but we have to implement. So we can have a single object in this file. So we have Discord client implements I Discord client. So we needed to define this implementation of register listeners. So it's going to autofill. So we want to just do that. And then we want to inside return this. So we want to return this and then some things we want to do. So we have a client object. So we want to do this.client.on. Now those listeners I was telling you about, we want to listen for when it's ready. Now ready, I believe passes args in, but we're not going to use any. If you want to know if ready passes args, there is Discord.js documentation on this. And you can follow along using that. So something else we need to import is the logger. We want to import a logger from the node color log. If you didn't install this, you can go ahead and skip this part because this is just for myself. We're going to do something called a client logger equals named logger, or logger.create named logger, sorry. There's also documentation on this code. Color log, just look up the MP package and it right there. So we want to call this guy the Discord client. This just adds more verbosity to our logging. And what we want to do is this dot client logger dot. Now we can do like an information log where we're saying, oh, this is info. Okay? We're gonna do the back quotes to get the ability to pass in objects or string. So I want to say we logged in as this. We're going to do this dot client, and we want to make sure that client is null before we check this next variable. We want to find our user object inside of here, and we want to get their tag. Okay, sorry. And I always add a period at the end of those. So yeah, this is our register listeners. This dot client dot on. We want to add another one for interactions. And this one, knowing anything about interactions and stuff, we want to leave this as async. We want to create a asynchronous arrow function here. This is going to take a couple parameters. We're going to take an interaction. And we want to import a couple of things up here. So we want to take interaction, and then we want to get cache type out of here as well. So that way we can type this properly. We want to type this as interaction with cache type. So this will allow us to do various different interaction this allows us to keep type safety with our interactions. That way we're not accessing object members that aren't there. Which just, like I said, it clears up a lot of headaches with bugs. So what I like to do is during debug, or during like when I'm debugging and stuff and seeing messages that come. So what I want to say, if the interaction is a chat message, is chat input command. If it's not one, so we're reversing this. We're saying if it's not a chat input command, then we just want to return, right? Now, normally what I do is I will do client logger dot info or just debug, and then I'll just do the interaction. Right? I'll just log out the interaction. So otherwise, we would handle this. We're gonna say handle slash command, right? That's what we're doing here. That is slash command. We're going to create another interaction for standard messages, and we're gonna fill out this code in a second. We're gonna go into this one. We want to do message. So if we hit control space to pop up this, we have a bunch of different ones here. Message create. Now this one requires a little bit different typings than the last one. We're gonna make this async, and we're gonna do message : message. Now Discord.js has a default export message here that we're going to import, so that way we can type our message out properly. And something we want to do, depending on your messages, so all of my messages in this tutorial are going to be message.content starts with. So all mine are going to start with an exclamation. That's how I know that they are ands, that like my bot's plain text reading. So that way we don't have to consistently use slash commands all the time. So this guy will start the handling of a command and say we want to say constant command equals message.content. So what I like to do is this dot client logger dot info, or actually we're going to debug this because this is specifically just for debugging, and I just want to do content. Alright, let's do issued command content. So the message, I believe you can get senders as well from message. So yeah, it should have the author. So if you wanted to do like, say this person issued this command, you know, you could do that. And then here, handle command. Right. So now that we're finished with that, we are probably going to create our connect function. We're going to fill this out now. Let's say anytime that we're dealing with anything that is say like connecting to a database that could possibly throw an error, we always want to try catch it. That way if there's any errors, our application doesn't crash. We're not going to type this error because it can be pretty much of anything. So we're going to say this .client logger error, and we're going to pass in just the error. And yeah, there we go. So now we're logging that error. So a few things we want to do. This .client login. So this is telling Discord.js to log in. We can do process.env. This is that .env thing I was talking about. So this thing, this .env file. So we created a Discord token here. So let's just do .discord. It's not going to populate. You just have to make sure that this spelling matches what's in this .env file. So once we've logged in, yeah, so let's go ahead and create a command handler file here. .ts TypeScript. We're going to bring up some imports. We're going to bring up a client. We are going to do a message. So some of this stuff we're going to be processing in what was done Discord, this Discord client file. So client, gateway, intent bits, and stuff like that. So we're going to take message, message interaction, as well as base and base interaction equal or from yes. So we're importing these from. What I'll also do here is I'm going to create another file called global. These are just going to be global interfaces, and we're going to do export interface I index signature, and we're going to type this out with a T because we're going to be using this for commands and stuff like that. So we're going to say key string of type T, and that's our index. So we can go ahead and close that file. We don't need it anymore. And then if we need it, if I end up using that, bring that in here. So let's create an interface. This is going to be an I command, creating a command. And we're going to do interface I slash and it's actually, yeah, it is extends here. Yeah. So I command, we have a couple things we want to name. It's going to take a string. We need a description probably for when we register commands. So something we want to add here is callback. We want to add a callback to this. This is our chat command, which is message, and that's going to take a message. And we are going to return void because this is just a callback whenever this message happens. And let's go ahead and create our slash command. This guy's going to need a callback as well. And that will take an interaction, the base interaction. All right, so let's export another interface. Let's do I command handler. This is our command handler. So we want to say commands and this is where we're going to use that I index signature from. Because we want to take this of I type command. You could even name this like chat commands. I like to keep my chat commands and slash commands separate, just so that way. Oh, I forgot to extend the interface on this one. All right, so we want to create a function called register command. Take command and I command. Yeah, I command. We'll make this completely. And this is going to return a command handler that we have not actually created yet. So we're probably going to create this object right now. So let's go back to our core folder here. We're going to click add file and command handler.ts. And let's just, for now, export class command handler. And we'll just leave this like this. And we'll come back to that once we're finished defining this interface. So now we can go ahead and add the import. We get our command handler here. And now that we register the command. So we want to make registering commands, or we can register multiple commands. So we would take a commands, I command array, sorry. And then we're going to return the command handler again, that same object, which is basically the instance of our object. Let's say is command. We'll just take a string, and this will return a Boolean. And, or let's say is chat command here, because I want to essentially have two of these. So I want to be able to determine if one's a chat command or if one is a slash command. All right, so that'll let us know if this command being passed is a chat command or slash command or not. Let's do register server commands or register slash commands. So this isn't gonna register like these ones do. So this registering slash command is going to register them with the server. So we're going to return a hand commandler, or command handler, and we need a client object, our current client object. And instead, we're going to void this because we only want to do this one time. Anytime we add new slash commands, basically. This is all going to be statically created, by the way. We're not like doing dynamic command creation or anything like that. We're all basically just defining stuff like that. So we're going to execute. I don't think that's going to be an issue later. We want to take a promise. We don't know the current type of our promise, so just going to leave that as unknown. Let's take a string here. And then we'll compare that via this, which then we'll call the callback. Okay. So now that we have this created, we'll go ahead and create this guy. So this guy is going to implement the I command handler interface. Let's go ahead and hover this. It doesn't want to autofill for us, so we're going to do this manually. So let's just call this commands. Yeah. We're going to leave this as just commands. I index signature of a I command. And we want to construct this like so. So that's probably going to do it for part 1 of this series. This was originally just going to be a one and done video, but I'm going to go over a little bit more as far as command handling goes in the next video. So With that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.